Hello and welcome back to another exciting podcast episode of American Pylon. Your host here, Will Mehall, alongside my counterparts James Thomas Fanning IV, Tyler Combs, and David Grayson behind the computer and the mic, putting this all together and making all this happen. We've got a lot to talk about. We want to recap the UGA game against Middle Tennessee State University, what we saw that impressed us, or at least that we thought was, a good showing from the Dogs, and maybe one or two things that we thought they could have done better. But we really want to look forward to next weekend when they take on Missouri and Columbia. But before we get into all that, I want to give a shout out to our partners at In We Go. We've talked about them on the show a little bit, but once again, In We Go is your one-stop shop for anything you guys might want to do in and around the city. For just $30 a month, you get unlimited access to events in Atlanta, Denver, Phoenix, and now Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and I think they're moving to Dallas, I saw.
Are they really?
Dallas and St. Pete.
Wow.
In Florida.
That's awesome. So hopefully
keep my ear to the ground on social media.
That's good to know. And now for a limited time, if you plug in the promo code Pylon into the promo box, you get $10 off that first month. So be sure to check them out at In We Go. All right, guys. So let's start off by talking a little bit about what we saw at Middle Tennessee State University, the game against the Dogs this past weekend. I'm going to be honest, I saw maybe 5 to 10 minutes of this game. I was actually, as I mentioned last podcast, down in Gainesville.
Either way.
I don't even know where I am.
Some awful city.
Somewhere in Florida, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was down in Gainesville with the girlfriend visiting family, and we went and saw the Florida game there.
You guys were one of 13 people in the stadium?
Yeah, did you guys?
I saw those pictures on social media that it was
good.
right before kickoff. The stadium was empty.
Yeah, it
against the Fighting Mike Bobos, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a great showing, I will say. I think the most disappointing thing, if I was a Florida fan, is seeing how empty the student section was. I mean, truly empty. Even after kickoff, I can't even say it was half full. So I think that was definitely disappointing. I mean, we were sitting in the season ticket holder section, and we just picked up a couple tickets on the cheap prior to going down there. But
that's a bummer for them, because I remember my sophomore year at Georgia, we were 6-7. That was Aaron Murray's redshirt freshman year, but we still went to every game.
It was
still such a social event.
I feel like we give our own selves, meaning UGA, a lot of flack for not showing up to the game. The student section can either empty out pretty early, or I don't really know what's going on right now. But we'll get our intern on to fix this audio, and no, anyway. We always get flack or give ourselves flack for saying, gosh, our student section looks a little empty, because we always excuse it to downtown is awesome. Downtown Athens is a great.
But their student section just didn't show up at all.
Yeah, that's
Georgia's
what
empties out.
That's what I'm getting, I guess, is why, we give ourselves flack for having an awesome downtown scene, kind of pull away from going to the game and tailgating scene. Did you see anything in Gainesville that you thought that would be preferable to going into this noon game versus Colorado State?
I don't know. You'd have to ask a lot of the fans down there, because I think a lot of them would prefer seeing anything else but the Florida Gators on the field at this point in time.
That's fair.
But, it was fun. I was there kind of in disguise, again, with my girlfriend. I wore, nothing Gators, but I did wear a blue shirt to blend in and kind of see the, how everything would go in the season ticket holders section.
How did it go?
I don't think that Felipe Franks played particularly well. I think that he had a pretty poor showing from what I saw. And it didn't look like a great offense. We sat pretty close, and, they kept them pretty close in the beginning, Colorado State did. And then obviously Florida pulled away there towards the end, but it just wasn't a very exciting game.
He played real bad against Kentucky, didn't he? I remember seeing his stat line that
they haven't grabbed my attention yet, because they haven't been worthy of it.
Yeah, they lost to Kentucky first time in 32 years.
32 years, yeah.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
Right. There were several times that he had receivers wide open. He missed a guy that was running a post route, and he just left it short, and the cornerback came in and picked it. So it just didn't look. It didn't look good. It was a cool experience to be in a stadium that I'd never been in.
Sure. To
be amongst a fan base that I can't stand. That was an interesting experience when I didn't really have to care about the game. But yeah, cool experience. Unfortunate for their fan base and that team. It doesn't look good this year.
Yeah, that's a tough game to go visit I mean, I guess honestly, an iconic stadium, especially for the conference for the SEC. The Swamp is something as Georgia fans, we don't really get a chance to go check out unless it's it's an off week or something cheap to go see.
Yeah.
But I wonder how. I mean, obviously, like every other stadium or campus, I would think it'd be more a buzz, and more exciting if it was a big time game. But
yeah, but I mean, like I said, it was a cool experience. It seems smaller than
I've heard
what
that.
I anticipated.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I wonder what its capacity is.
I think it's in the 90s.
Yeah,
Ben
But just-
Hill Griffin Stadium.
yeah, but
right?
just the way it was set up, like
It's kind of flat, right? It doesn't. Isn't it kind
no,
of?
it like juts up. Like there's these walls. on the side.
91,900, so not that much smaller.
Yeah, I mean, but I've
few
heard that.
thousand.
I've heard that it doesn't appear as. I know it's known for being loud and intimidating, but I've heard similar.
Yeah,
things
well,
as
it
that.
certainly didn't carry that reputation on this past weekend.
Yeah,
But
It was no Vanderbilt for in terms of home field advantage.
yeah, that was another embarrassing.
Yeah.
But anyways,
venue. Anyway.
yeah, I'll say if you guys ever get a chance to go down there just to see a game, I mean, and you're in the area and you can find a cheap ticket, it's worth it just to check one of those boxes of that stadium off your list,
That's
right?
a pretty weak recommendation.
Yeah, well, nothing
Like,
about
if
the
you
Gators.
happen to be there and the ticket
Someone
is
gives you a
free
ticket.
and you literally have nothing
Oh,
else to
and
do.
flies you there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Go.
not going to say,
if
I
someone
saw.
puts a gun to your head and tells you to go see the Florida Gators play, it's
okay,
like,
but I've seen,
You
I've
take that
seen
bullet like a
games
man.
in Notre Dame. I've seen games at Sanford Stadium.
Sure.
I saw a game at Clemson, right? When I'm not a Clemson fan, I saw them play Louisville that year, and that was a loud, ruckus stadium with a great matchup. That's something I would say, like, yeah, that would definitely be one to check off the box. But the Swamp, in my opinion, was very underwhelming. So I
Yeah.
don't think anybody should go out of their way,
Well,
at
I'm
least,
happy
and
to
then,
hear that.
for this to get that experience. But again, just to save myself, I did have a fun time down there with Natalie, the girlfriend, and her family. So
the in-laws are listening
let
to
me
this,
just
probably.
let me just preface it with that. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
moving on, we want to talk a little bit about Middle Tennessee State, and as I mentioned, I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of this game, so I do want to kind of turn it over to you guys and let you guys go back and forth. Let's talk about offense. What did you guys see on the offensive side of the ball that impressed you, or that you thought was a good showing from the Dogs this past weekend?
offense, Jimmy. Offense.
Offense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
So
starting
the
off
safeties,
with,
I was really impressed. with.
I'm sure you
I know. I mean, I was happy that we finally got to see a real explosive run play, even though it was an end around by a wide receiver. So we still haven't seen
Well,
those
we still
real.
had one more than that.
Well, I'm looking at Tyler Simmons. I guess I'm working my way down
okay.
the box score.
He's
right
on
now.
offense.
It was
Tyler. Let's just
actually
let him roll with it.
the one you're discounting. The first big run was actually by the person Jimmy can't stand,
Yeah.
Elijah Holyfield. So that's
Yeah.
why he's already stat from his
Again,
memory.
this
Also
narrative
led the Bulldogs
that I
in
hate Elijah
rushing this past
Holyfield.
weekend.
I don't know if I should kind of lean into this for the sake of the show, but I'm scared that Elijah will hear that I don't think he's a good running back and will
Well,
like
we
eat me
keep
or
running with
something.
it, and we keep winning. So I think it's going to stick.
Mm-hmm. His dad was at the game.
Yeah, I
his
saw
dad
that.
was sitting in the
Yeah.
end zone. That was pretty
He's
cool. They
awesome.
showed him on TV a lot.
Yeah, but so
No,
you were
but yeah,
impressed.
we did have a big explosive play from Elijah that was cool to see. But I was talking about Tyler Simmons' touchdown run.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So still looking for a little more consistency with those explosive plays between the tackles. But
Totally
that
agree.
end around with Justin Fields in when I think the other team is going to have a linebacker kind of spying more run defense on him. So it's one less defender. It takes them an extra half second to make sure that he doesn't have the ball before they turn their sights on that wide receiver who's already – we just have such speed in wide receiver position, and those guys are already running full speed when they get the ball. I think that's going to be deadly, and I think we're going to do some other stuff out of that later. Once we get that film out there and teams, are quicker to bite on the jet sweep itself, I could see some sort of reverse or, Justin Fields keep and just launch it down the seam to one of the tight ends or something. So
Yeah, I totally
I'm
agree with
excited
that.
to see that formation.
I did. That was an exciting play, and it was also very similar to Austin P. Again, Middle Tennessee State, kind of a tune-up game. It was the fourth series when Justin Fields went in, and it was almost the same exact play we ran with Demetrius Robertson when he ran around the end and scored his 72.
yeah, I
It
didn't
was the
think about
exact
that.
same play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah, that's obviously something we're setting up. I think just because, like to Jimmy's point, with Justin Fields, with the element he brings to our offense by being able to use his feet, that's just going to hold defenses a little more honest and give us that that we can use a speed because, like Jimmy said as well, when the wide receiver picks up that sweep, he's already at full speed and he's hitting it, and not many teams in the SEC, I would say, can even compete with our speed, much less a team like Middle Tennessee State. Overall on offense, though, I felt it was sloppy, which is funny to say. 49-7, but I think a lot of us were very frustrated. Even though we were scoring, we had big passes to Jeremiah Holloman, we had big runs by Tyler Simmons, big runs by Elijah Holyfield. it's just the penalties were sloppy. We had a few false starts. We just had holdings. It seemed like we weren't there. So that was just frustrating. Even though we were getting the points, we were getting the scores, you could tell the mental focus wasn't necessarily there.
Yeah,
I was going to say, do you think that's a case of the Dogs playing down to an opponent and losing focus? Or what would you attribute that sloppiness to on the offensive side?
I mean, yeah, I hate to say that that's the case. I mean, these guys are kids. I mean, I understand. I mean, we've all played sports. You know how it is when you are going into a lesser opponent. Even this isn't comparable, but in high school, I know when we played lesser teams, it wasn't as exciting as the high school you couldn't stand, and even for fans, it's not as the stadium's not as packed. The atmosphere is not there, so I think they can feel that, and I think.
And a couple of the penalties, I think, were younger guys who made, like Cade Mays.
Cade
Mays
had
at least 2
Charlie
penalties.
Warner, and Isaac Nada, but the tight ends didn't have a particularly strong.
I mean, that
day.
might have been as far as Cade. I mean, that was him making his first start, first game. He's really got meaningful minutes in Sanford Stadium,
and he looked good. I think Cade's looked good. I think he looked inconsistent. There were some
Yeah.
times he got beat. A lot of stuff I read and even listened to. They talked about it on the announcers touched on it, how he's so big and physical, and like most kids that talented when they come out of high school, they're used to just dominating physically. They're used to being the biggest kid on the field and having the tools.
I can speak to that in terms of the talent he played against in high school. Because he
yeah.
was playing against guys like me.
Right. Well, I mean, but he still looks good.
I thought you were going to spin that, like, speaking from personal experience, I was
Yeah, I
always
thought you
the
were gonna
biggest
go
guy
with
on
I'm
the field.
saying I was the kind of outside linebackers that was trying to blitz against.
But I
Cade
mean, he
Mays.
looked good, just a little inconsistent, obviously. It was his fault him for that. I mean, it was his first start. He played, and I also read this is a really good point that when he came in for South Carolina, he looked extremely dominant, and that was versus a worn down defense.
That's a good point.
This was a fresh, defense. I mean, even if they are, Middle Tennessee State, they're still coming out. They can pin their ears back. They're still fired up. Speeding of the game, and they're going to give them all they can handle, especially just being a young side of the line. But overall, all in all, I mean, I was impressed with the offense. It's just there. I think with Fromm, he got off to a slow start. I think we all agreed that it looked like he was kind of sluggish or just kind of hesitant in what he was reading. I know because we had that early strip sack fumble.
Yeah,
when Ben Cleveland kind of had us. It was just funky.
Yeah, Cleveland recovered it.
And then there was another series when I think we went 3 and out after the fumble. Middle Tennessee State was driving. It was 14-0. They were driving downfield to score, and DeAndre Baker, who I love, the kid is just I don't think in the defensive side, but he forced a turnover. And then we went 3 and out, and I think Fromm kind of dumped it down to Holyfield. He easy, just a kind of a check down pass, dropped it, then rolled out to the next play and got sacked. So I mean, I don't know if it was play calling. I don't know if it was. I noticed in some of those instances, we were definitely keeping almost max protection in and giving him no dump down passes. So maybe it was just a coverage set.
Yeah, he only had
it's just hard to see.
Like,
we don't
real
get the
big
film.
shot downfield that I can remember, at least in the first half.
It was
he had
to
that deep.
Holloman.
It was to Holloman,
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. That could be a coverage set. That could just be a play call of just 3 deep routes and nothing really underneath to help from there. But it felt a little sluggish once they got their touchdown, which was ugly. Once they scored on us, then we started clicking. We started throwing downfield. We started seeing Fromm play a little more oomph, I guess, a little more attitude. But I mean, all in all, I guess I'm impressed. I mean, it was a balanced attack again. I think we ran strong. We saw our offensive line can do it. I love the wide receivers. I think the wide receivers are the strongest
wide receivers played really, really well.
I think nothing but wide receivers scored touchdowns except for Justin Fields' rushing touchdown. Mm-hmm. So. I mean that's A+ to that group. I guess.
And Miko finally got his punt return.
Yes, I said all last
Tyler's
year.
Been rooting for him for.
I said he was the best returner in the country that has yet to score a touchdown, and he finally blew on. Actually, that was our first. That was Georgia's first punt return, maybe even kickoff and punt return. I think since 2016.
Really?
2016.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but yeah. That's my take on the offense.
Nice.
Exciting to see us hang up 49. That's also the second time in school history that we've hung 40 points in our first 3 games.
Really?
So, yeah. So, I mean, we're moving the ball. We're scoring what we want. And Kirby does not want to run up the score. I mean, we scored that first. We scored we had that long drive coming out of halftime with Justin Fields.
It was 9 plays, 90 yards.
And that was it. That's all. And then we scored those 7 points.
10 plays.
Held onto the ball 7 minutes, 6 minutes. And then that's all she wrote. We put in the
I did see a graphic the other day that on Instagram or something that said that Alabama is the first team in SEC history to score 50 points in their first 3 games, but we easily could have scored 50.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think...
And I haven't really watched Alabama. For all I know, they're throttling it back in the fourth quarter the same way we are. But
another thing I want to touch on that I guess brings up a point, too, is we're not running up the score, and I think a piece we can definitely talk about is DeAndre Swift. I know there was a noticeable absence from DeAndre Swift in the game. I think he had 7 touches, if I'm not mistaken. Like I don't even think he came in the second quarter. I may totally be missing that as far as playing time, but I guess no. There was people kept asking. I was getting texts. We were asking like, "Where's DeAndre Swift?"
Yeah,
Kirby
four
did confirm
carries for 12
4.
yards.
Okay, 4 carries. So Kirby did confirm it wasn't an injury. Some people are buying that. Some people aren't. I guess looking back, watching it again, watching the game again, I guess I take it as, did we have to? And then what came to mind was, how beneficial would someone like Zamir White be? Because now, maybe let's say we're saving Swift for later because we don't have to run Swift. I get that. We can win comfortably without him. Kirby's going to keep, again, we've said it all, this whole time, Kirby controls the narrative, so we're not going to really hear what it is. If it is an injury, he's not going to tell us because, he doesn't release anything. It would have been nice to have someone like Zamir, because now we're definitely running our number 2, Elijah Holyfield, running him a lot, getting Harry in there. And then there's a steep drop off to some of the other guys. But that would have been nice to see, help us build that depth. Because then, it begs the question, what if someone like, we're trying to save Swift, what if someone, this is all what ifs, but, what if someone like, Holyfield were to go down, then you have Harrion and Swift. It's a whole different
crazy.
complexion.
Like
so
what was such a deep position,
you're right,
kind of becomes,
and now it's
thin.
scary. Yeah, because
and because James Cook really didn't have any luck running between the tackles.
He didn't.
5 carries for 1 yard.
Mm-hmm.
So there definitely is a drop off when you look at the stat line and you take away the wide receivers that were running around the outside.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty big drop off from Holyfield to Harrion to.
That was it's funny because during the game I didn't think much about it. I was just worried about Swift. Then I got to thinking after the fact, or watching it again, like just to reiterate, wow, if Holyfield were to go down, or something like that, or even Harrion, we're getting thin at a back that we were bragging about all offseason.
Prather Hudson taking some like actual meaningful snaps.
I don't want to knock out our guys. As far as I think. It's so funny. It used to be one guy. It used to be the Herschel, the Bo, the Barry Sanders, the Emmitt Smith. And now you need 2 guys. And now last year we're seeing, you're getting 3 guys. You're just getting, the ball's getting so spread out more. Offenses are getting so exotic. You definitely
I think as
need
many guys as Kirby,
depth.
trusts to make the right reads and do everything from what he's seen in practice. He wants to spread the ball around as much as possible.
At the same time, though, I feel like last year with Sony and Nick, they definitely would have come out that game. We wouldn't have questioned it at all. But then behind them, we already had Swift, Harry, and Holyfield, Prather Hudson. So it was just as deep as we were last year and as deep as we are this year. That was just a kind of a glimpse into how detrimental Zamir White's injury could be for us. So that kind of worried me. But that was kind of my final thought on the offense.
Yeah. Well, a solid performance, 49-7, albeit a sloppy side from the offense. What did you guys see on the defensive side of the ball, the positive takeaways that we had from the defense?
Yeah, I think, again, our secondary looked really strong. DeAndre Baker, early on, I think they went for it on 4th down, or they went for it on 3rd down with it was a 3rd and 1. They ran a trick play. They were lined up wrong, but DeAndre Baker flew in the backfield, tackled the quarterback on that pass, and then the very next play rips off I was hoping to be a pick 6, but he ripped off his second interception, I guess, of the season.
4th down. They went for it on
fourth down, yeah. So we shut them down.
Medium early in the game.
I think secondary looked good. We didn't give up any big plays. They didn't really target it downfield at all, but we kept that from getting out of hand. I think I come away frustrated with mainly the linebackers. It just felt like. And the kind of, we'll see this again next week. The way the kind of offense Middle Tennessee State runs is that spread them out. The week before, I think the quarterback threw it for 5 touchdowns and some ungodly amount of yards, video game numbers. And they're going to do that to us. Teams are going to try to spread it out, get only a couple of linebackers in the box, and have and try to move the ball, try to run it on us. And they did. I think they had some success. They didn't have any big gains, but they consistently had big pickups on those early downs. They just didn't have They weren't as accurate and precise enough to really convert on 3rd down. But I want to see more from the linebackers. I guess if I say that because we're going to play bigger, faster, better competition, and then I just don't feel like we have that championship talent level there yet. That's what scares me the most, I think, because we have no. I know we say we don't have a road call, we don't have that one guy to look at, but when I look at that defense, I want to stay confident like you're not going to run on us like we could last year. I don't feel that way. That's what makes me nervous.
Yeah, I guess that, what we've talked about all season and all off season is that we're at a weird spot where the experience and the talent aren't really matching up. Mm-hmm. So, you got to figure out, you got to bring those younger guys along slowly, but when you have your most talented guys that you trust the most on the field, you're not going to have your most physically talented guys on the field and vice versa. So we're kind of just waiting for the light to come on for, ideally Tyndall and
Yeah.
Quay.
Yeah, I know I'm being impatient because I thought they looked so physically
Yeah.
impressive at
I really
open
thought we would
practice.
have
and
two
stuff.
guys as good as Roquan by
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's,
So
they were
and-
5 stars.
and-
It's week 4. What,
yeah, and,
what
and again, I know we're kind of, this is not really issues. We're winning 49-7. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
albeit versus lesser competition, but I guess Kirby's got us. It's almost like Kirby. We almost look for every chance to coach ourselves. I guess it's kind of bleeding over. We want perfection. We want to see that. We know he's preaching it. We see him grab them by the face mask on the sideline after every play and coach them up.
He's rotating guys in and out so much, though. I don't think we've really seen us in a true dogfight yet. Games like this, we know there's basically 0% chance of losing, so we're putting in younger guys when it's probably not quite their turn, or we wouldn't if it was a closer game. So Kirby's treating this kind of like a live scrimmage and collecting as much film as he can.
That's very true. I think we don't have to. We can. I guess you're right. We haven't seen maybe our true defense yet. We were kind of just having to be. Like South Carolina really didn't even challenge us downfield all that much. We haven't really had to. We haven't had a threat yet. We haven't played a threat. I don't want to discount South Carolina for what they are. Selfishly, I want to say they're pretenders because we just embarrassed them so bad. I want to put it away and just throw it on them even more.
Yeah.
But I guess to our credit, we still need them to be a solid team to help prove to us how kind of to confirm how good we are. Similar to what LSU Auburn did this past weekend.
We haven't had anybody come out and kind of punch us in the mouth.
Right.
Which was Missouri was the first team to do it last year.
Yep.
So we'll see.
So that makes me a little
Good
nervous
matchup this week
for next week for sure. But all in all, I mean, again, we allowed 7 points, and it was an ugly play. Do you remember the touchdown? It was Tyson Campbell, and I forget who it was out in the flat, but they dumped it down in the flat, kind of like a wide receiver screen almost. They chop blocked our 2 guys, and then J.R. Reed took the worst angle. And I'm no trigonometry guy. I'm not a math guy, but that was a pretty bad angle to take on to be a senior laden or to be a veteran presence in the back there. I thought that was a pretty poor angle for him to take on that play. So I mean, it was busted coverage.
That could be maybe a situation where he misjudged. Like maybe that guy just happens to be pretty fast, and he was thinking, we're playing a lesser opponent, so he's probably not quite as fast. Because you got to judge the other player's speed,
and it's tough.
I mean,
we're not doing it back there. I couldn't do it for 50 snaps a game and judge the run and the pass and everything correctly. I know that's tough, but he's a talented kid. I was just a teaching moment, sure. But I mean, we're looking back at their lone touchdown was busted coverage. So
Yeah, I mean, shame to see that busted coverage, but I think we can all agree that they're going to step up for Missouri and, get that coverage right. Speaking of coverage, I want to give a shout-out to our friend over at Ed Freeman State Farm. I've said it on the show before, and I'll say it again. Ed Freeman is the best agent in the state, if not, I don't know, guys, I'm blanking here, something bigger than the macrocosms. So if
all
you're
11 dimensions.
Exactly. So if you're like me and you're accident prone, then you're also like me and you go after the best coverage. That's why we all rely on Ed Freeman State Farm. If you've got a boat, a house, a car, or a life, be sure to check out Ed Freeman State Farm for all your insurance coverage needs. So we wrapped up Middle Tennessee State University. We want to talk about the matchup coming forward next weekend in Columbia against Missouri. Did you guys get a chance to watch the Missouri game this past weekend at all?
No, they kicked field goals. Time expired to beat Purdue, right?
Yeah.
Big Ten power Purdue.
I actually watched this game. I thought it was pretty entertaining, honestly. There was a pretty controversial play on a touchdown pass to, I'm blanking on the wide receiver's name. I think his last name was Sparks for Purdue, which... Yeah. In my opinion, should have tied up the game at 37, right? But they reversed the call, and that's what gave Missouri a second life to then go down and kick a late field goal for the win. Drew Lock, I mean, he looked as advertised, I would say, didn't blow me away in his performance, but I want to hear what you guys think coming up for this weekend that we can look forward to on the Georgia side of the ball, where you think we're going to excel, and then maybe some things that you think we need to be cautious of going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to live and die by Drew Lock. I don't think they probably can't run on us, and I don't see them trying to, kind of the same way that South Carolina came out, just tried to spread us out and beat us with their arm right away. It didn't work at all with Bentley because he didn't really play that well, but I think Lock is definitely better than Bentley. So from what I've read, they got some good receivers, and they've got a very good quarterback. But I think there's been a pretty noticeable drop-off in his statistics when they play ranked teams. So he's one of those guys that just kind of feasts on the smaller guys, but when they play ranked teams, he doesn't tend to play as well. So I think they're going to get their points, and he's going to take his shots, and they'll probably, I would say, score somewhere between like 17 and 28, but I think we're just going to score at will against them. So
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I think starting from UGA standpoint, obviously we want to take away the run, and we want to run. That's the identity I think we like to have. So obviously we want to see more of that between the tackles stuff. That's why we want to see it versus lesser opponents like Middle Tennessee State. So I think you'll see us come out with that. Maybe some of the throw to open up the run, like with Mecole and maybe D-Rob, Tyler Simmons, get all our speed there on the edge to kind of open that up for us, because I expect them to stack the box and make us throw it just as much as they are. I will disagree with you, though, Jimmy. I think I was just reading about their offensive line. They average 6'5", 320. So they're not quite as big as we are, but they are still the biggest offensive line we'll have faced yet. Oh. So I think, we still – and I think – also looking at this past week's game and how when they spread it out and we're like in a nickel or dime package, we only have one linebacker in the box with 4 or 3 down linemen. That's just that's a mismatch that scares me a little bit, just because we haven't seen us kind of. I guess we suffocated the run versus South Carolina, but just seeing teams like Middle Tennessee State even get a little bit of a glimpse. Yeah. To me, I know football, you still play the game and it's not linear. Just because you beat X doesn't mean X will beat so-and-so. But you want to put those doubts to bed. I think fans naturally, Missouri fans would say, Middle Tennessee State can get those kind of get those kind of yards on first and second down with spreading the ball out, on the run. Why can't we? We're more talented. This is at home for us. So I'm not gonna say I'm concerned. I think we win still. I think if we get in a shootout, I trust our team. I just think I could see them having a little bit more balanced attack than we could expect. That's the one thing I would say, just to keep in your back pocket or keep an eye on, is it would not surprise me if they had a little bit of success up in the run. Earlier on. But obviously I think they're still going to throw it. They still have Drew Lock. That's their number one weapon. They're still going to try to air it out. But, just, again, it wouldn't be shocking to see them try to expose, our defensive line, or maybe a lack of pressure up the middle from our linebackers. So
I'd take that. I'd almost rather see them run Drew Lock scares me, I guess, more than, he's complete. He's got 1,000 passing yards already. He's got 11 touchdowns with 1 interception. So I would think their coaches would – the easiest thing to look, if you're their coaches, would be to say they're just so much more talented than us across every facet. The only place where we can maybe, Drew can play the game of his life and we could end up beating him. But then from there, you could kind of work your way backwards and say, well, that's what they're going to expect, so let's get a little bit gimmicky with it and spread them out and then run based off of that. So, yeah.
Make no mistake, this is kind of like their Super Bowl, too.
It's going to be, that's what I was going to say. It's going to be every team in the SEC East Super Bowl, so they're going to throw the book at us.
Well, as long as they have their chance, it will be.
Yeah,
because they haven't lost yet, have they? Is Missouri
3-0?
So they still they're still thinking they can make it to Atlanta. Also, they have they're drinking the Kool-Aid over there, and with Drew Lock, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. They got to feel like if not this year, then when?
Yeah. I think another concern, and this I trust Kirby, so maybe it's just something to kind of keep in your back pocket again. Maybe put it away. Is we haven't played a full game yet. We haven't played really into the fourth quarter, so if this does get into a shootout, how do we react? How is our stamina there? Are we truly conditioned to go that toe to toe with a high powered offense on the road? Granted, it's a noon kickoff, so it's not like it's we're getting to they're not a rowdy crowd. I don't think anyone's ever given Missouri kudos for how hostile their environment is, but. That's one thing to look out for as well. I could see us. Again, I trust Kirby. I think we're conditioned. I think we're smart enough. We have enough talent and weapons to spread the ball out. We're not riding one horse. I just, we have not mentally been in the game in the fourth quarter yet.
That's true. I think it's more of a mental thing, because to me, physically, a 4-quarter game kind of favors us, because even if you say that both teams are equally well conditioned, then they're going to get tired out at the same rate. So you're going to have to shift to your second and third line at the same rate, not just think that we have more depth than. When you just look at how guys were ranked out of high school, the kind of guys that we have coming off the bench playing second and third string. We have 5 stars in our 3 deep.
No doubt. It'll also be interesting to see Andrew Thomas, because this would be Cade Mace's first technically start on the road for the SEC. So that'll be another little element too.
I think that Thomas is supposed to be back this week at practice, and I would imagine that.
Well, they said, I know in today's practice they said he wasn't out there at all. In the media viewing period. Kirby's played games of that before. Again, he told us Fields wouldn't play, so he plays games. He's definitely.
I like that though.
I do too. It's fun to kind of watch, to be surprised by your coach and not know exactly what's going in. to that game. But yeah, I would just, that's another thing I would look out for is that mental state. I agree with Jimmy. The talent is there. Obviously, we're not recruiting. I mean, I can't even tell you where Missouri ranks in recruiting year after year.
Pretty
but
far
it is.
down.
They're not recruiting in this state, and they're not even. I mean, we're not even we branch out so much farther anyway because of our brand. But and then obviously, I think I can't even. What's his name? What's Missouri's head coach name? This is horrible. I don't know that.
It was Pinkel, right?
Yeah,
Gary
Pinkel's gone. It's our defensive coordinator took over.
Steele?
It doesn't matter. Anyway, how about this? It's Kirby Smart versus everybody else. So
Yeah.
I trust Kirby over
Dogs versus
whoever they
everybody.
throw over there.
Dogs
So,
by 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you brought that up, Tyler, because, Kirby was quoted as saying, we know a fourth quarter kind of game is coming. So that was a quote right from Kirby. So you guys are in the same vein as far as what you're thinking.
Kirby's a listener.
I'm
So
sitting here, Kirby.
Taking after Tyler.
Kirby, I'm sitting here. If you need
Yeah.
a graduate assistant or anything,
Yeah.
coffee boy, I'm right here.
Still trying to get him back on the show. I know Jimmy
He
had
did
a
not like that question.
boneheaded question that he asked.
Yeah,
but
Kirby.
I think, we'll hopefully be able to get him back on sooner rather than later, although they do have a tough streak of SEC opponents coming
7
up.
in a row.
Yeah.
We got to buy in.
Yeah,
there,
we're
but
heading. We're jumping in.
I don't, know that, I don't know that I would quite call it like a murderer's row, just because the SEC East is so much weaker than the Western. But
Yeah, totally
I mean,
agree with that.
it's really not a ton of room for error. I mean, the
There's
goal
not.
is
I mean,
obviously to go undefeated.
You play the games, and like we said before, obviously, I mean, the money tells you, and we're favored in all 12 games. The smart bet, the money tell you, don't bet with your heart. You're gonna. It's not often that teams, go undefeated. So, especially in the
And I
SEC.
think with the game we saw this weekend, I think Auburn and LSU both became a little bit more intimidating games to me. That was a really good game.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you look more to those to be more of your threats because if we beat Missouri, I think then you got Tennessee and Vanderbilt at home. I think we steamroll and into Baton Rouge, and then it certainly gets thick. But yeah, this is it, man. We're getting to the SEC. This is when it gets fun. This is when the games matter. We only have 2 more out of conference games, 1 more cupcake.
Because you don't want to look too far ahead, but once we're past Tennessee and Vanderbilt, obviously you're at LSU. Bye. Florida's never going to be a gimme just because I don't ever trust rivalry games in college football, no matter what the talent gap is. That's going to be a tough game. At Kentucky, who realistically might be the second best team in the East, even though we don't really think that much about them. I mean, we already steamrolled USC, and then they beat Florida. So
Yeah, but it's not linear, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
we'll
just
see.
from what we've seen so far. And then Auburn. So I think really once we get into October is when
we'll definitely
there's
know
a
then.
chance to lose a game. The best
I'm
chance
excited
to
to-
lose a
Yeah.
game. I'm really looking forward to it.
This is going to be a really fun stretch of games, so I know we're all looking forward to seeing that. Now, if you had to go with a score prediction for this weekend, what would you guys land at?
Jimmy, you take that first.
I'm going to go like 56-27. I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I think we're going to score pretty much at will, but I do think that they're going to get their points.
56.
I think you don't think we could score 56 points?
Yeah, I think we can. I
could
think
if
we're
we want to.
capable. I don't know
Yeah.
if we'll I hope we don't need to. I guess that's my point. So you said 56.
56-27. is
More
my
than
score.
these other games, though. I mean, we're going to put
Well,
up
but
more
we,
points.
I mean, we like Tyler said, we haven't played in a fourth quarter yet. We literally had, I mean, it was 42 to 7 at halftime this week, and we scored 1 touchdown in the second half. Like we went so vanilla. So I think if their offense is clicking to the point where Kirby says, we need to keep our foot on the gas a little bit, it's not just so out of hand.
Sure.
I think as soon as he feels comfortable to totally scale it back and go vanilla and run the clock out, he will. But when you do have a senior quarterback like they do in Drew Lock, if it's a 3-possession game going into the fourth quarter like that, we've seen bigger comebacks.
I'm going to go 45-17.
Okay. So I'm giving their offense a little bit more credit.
I'm going to go
than you
45.
are.
Well,
Or you're giving our defense more credit.
Yeah, well, I
whichever
guess
way you wanna look at it.
now that you talk, this is why I wanted you to go first anyway. I wanted to think about it a little more, but I guess I see us controlling the clock more. I see us really, I can see Kirby not wanting to get into. Obviously, you don't want to get into a shootout.
You never want to get into.
But
a
I can see
shootout.
him just taking it from the onset and saying, we're going to do that 7-minute
But we didn't
drive.
try to get into a shootout with them last year, and they had a couple drives that were.
They
30
did. I trust our
seconds or whatever.
secondary
That was
more
big.
this year, though,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're more
Yeah,
talented
I'd agree
in
with
the
that.
secondary. So they're going to have to really earn it in that regard. Now, the pass rush needs to be there. We need to have DeAndre Walker up here on the stat sheet again.
I have
think.
read that about Drew Lock, that he kind of sometimes if you are getting legal hits on him by the third and the fourth quarter, he's kind of ready to take his ball and go home.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that likes to be like an old school football player, be taking hits and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be important to harass him as much as we can all night long.
I'll go with, I'll just, we've scored 40 so far. I don't see a reason to why we can again. because I mean we're not playing a stout defense, and I can just see us controlling the narrative of the game a little more than that. So I'm not gonna say we need to score 50. I think we can, but yeah, I'm gonna 45-17.
Okay.
Dogs on top.
I had 41-17.
Did you?
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, all
I
of
think
the
17's low for Missouri's offense. I think they've got a
that
good
could- that
quarterback.
doesn't
How about this?
from-
How about I think it's high for Georgia's defense?
That would be true. I think
because I agree with you about playing possession ball, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean 17 that's 3 I mean they're going to get a certain amount of possessions even if we're trying to eat clock as much as possible, and
I don't want to say they're. I mean, they're totally different year, totally different teams, totally different games. But last year, their 2 big touchdowns were, I don't want to say busted coverage, but definitely against a less talented secondary.
Yeah.
For sure.
What did you give Missouri, Jim?
17 or no 27. I gave them 27.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, So I mean,
I'll
you're
give
saying
them
they
an
get a
extra
touchdown
extra
and a field goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that, but I don't know. I would have even split the difference.
Like
Maybe-
24
or
20.
take away that that field goal maybe. See,
Yeah,
I don't know.
24 is reasonable. If you guys are going 17, I think 24 seems.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I see us controlling the clock, and I trust. I mean, if we're controlling the clock, our defense is fresher, and if our defense is fresher, we're more talented. I mean, we have the 5-star athletes and the ability to shut it down.
Here's what I do hope we see is I think we're waiting for the game where like Tyson Campbell's had some, he gave up a couple touchdowns against South Carolina, which like we said, he was in the right place. He's just young and he'll learn from those. So if he has another game like he had against South Carolina, which wasn't a bad game, but he was a freshman, he got picked on a little bit. They were trying to get away from DeAndre Baker. Then I could see them scoring, 24, 27, 31. But if this is the game where the light kind of comes on, where if he has an interception or if he kind of plays up to that 5-star status, then I think y'all's prediction of 17-ish is more. So I think it kind of falls on him because we know what we have in DeAndre Baker. And they're going to try.
Richard LeCount. Yeah, that's just true.
Yeah.
I agree. You get me excited about him because I think he's going to see so much this game probably because of that. He's going to really grow, and then we really might see.
This is a
that
really
pay
good game
dividends.
for him because you don't want to get too cocky ever going into an SEC game. But like we've said, I don't think they have the firepower to go toe to toe with us for 4 quarters. So even if our defense really doesn't play that well, even if they score 35 or whatever, I think we're going to score 49, 56 points without really even opening up the playbook. So this isn't a bad game to just throw Campbell out there on an island and say, do your
Figure it
best
out.
and let's get some film from it. Kind of do or die, sink or swim.
Yeah, I guess no one's thrown on us yet. We haven't given him the big play. I guess we'll give up one big play for South Carolina late in the game. We have our second string in. Outside of that, the starting defense has not given up a big play. We haven't allowed that. We haven't really allowed someone to throw all over us. And Jake Bentley's a senior quarterback at home.
Yeah.
With Debo Samuel, Brian Edwards. I mean, I guess Brian
we've
Edwards had a good game.
We gave up a long play to MTSU, but it was kind of a dink and dunk and then a bad angle.
Oh, yeah,
and
right.
turned into
But behind, no one's. I guess Missouri is still going to try that.
Versus a long play, I guess is what you're saying.
And again, I think that was busted coverage. So it's not really like someone just beat us straight up and did it to us all game. So if it's true that kind of what I said to look out for, if they might run it a little more with their big offensive line, that's also going to eat into some of that time of possession and keep it low scoring. So
maybe with that big offensive line, maybe we'll see Adam Anderson get a little bit of because he's a guy that's kind of custom made for that,
That's very
especially
true,
if they're going to throw the ball a lot because he's more quick than he is big.
Him and Britton Coxon, that would be a fun one to watch.
So if they have kind of big but maybe a little bit slower guys,
that's fair. Yeah, I like that idea. That's good.
I've seen this has nothing to do with anything, but I saw some videos on Twitter this week of. Have you watched any of Florida State's offensive line play this season?
I watched that Samford game.
Wow, they are bad.
That's not what stuck out to me.
Their left and their right. I mean, those guys look like they have cement in their shoes.
Yeah. Well, that's probably why Francois got murdered last year, right?
Oh my gosh! I mean, there were a couple plays where they play Syracuse this week and they lost to them.
Yeah.
Where it was just showing like. Syracuse was getting sacks on Francois, and it was like their left tackle looked like he was asleep when the ball was snapped. It was, that's just a bummer. It makes me excited to have as good of an offensive line coach as we have in Pittman.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an exciting game to look forward to, and then an exciting stretch for the Georgia Bulldogs coming up here. But what were some of the games that surprised you from this past week? Because there were a few of them that I think we didn't expect to see that much of a gap. Number one, in my mind, is the Bama versus Ole Miss. I don't know enough about Ole Miss to say that they should have lost as bad as they did, but I feel like most people can comfortably say if you're in the SEC and you're playing another SEC opponent, they shouldn't be able to hang as many as they did.
62-7.
That's embarrassing. I just expected Ole Miss to show up a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. I mean, Bama's the real deal. I mean, they're serious. Obviously, Ole Miss is going with I guess this is Matt Luke's first year officially being the head coach after Hugh Freeze's unfortunate departure. But yeah, I guess I don't know. That I agree. I thought Ole Miss, just with how that game was always played out, kind of being that mental thing with those two teams, kind of being that rivalry building up. They have a little more oomph to them, but they scored. They came out of the gate and scored the first touchdown. I think it was like a 70-something yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And
60, never heard from him
62
again.
75 yards.
Yeah. So that was definitely an ugly game. I think. We have a friend of ours who's an Ohio State fan, and this was the last week that Urban Meyer, Spencer, that Urban Meyer was not on the sideline, and that was actually a really close game. Heading into the fourth quarter, I think Ohio State was up 12, so that was surprising. That was a fun text to get to tune into that game. They ended up pulling away, but so that was exciting. Also, BYU knocking off Wisconsin. That was exciting. Of course, I called the end clip on that, but
That one's exciting for us.
Special
just
teams.
Like what we talked about last week is kind of there's a top 7 or 8 teams that we're all kind of jostling for one of those top 4 spots at the end of the season. So anytime you see somebody really ranked inside the top 10 go down, especially to an unranked team,
when you can thin
it's kind of just good by default.
When you can,
for Georgia.
I don't want to say cushion because I kind of have the negative emphasis of like we need it, but it definitely thins the herd. It thins out who are the truly elite players at the end of the season. And then obviously I think the most exciting game was Auburn LSU.
That was a very good game. I was at Music Midtown, and we were going to watch that till halftime and then go to the concerts. And I was with our Auburn friend Sawyer Page, and we'd stayed through the whole game.
There you go. You should. I mean, it was a good game. It was fun to watch. I guess Auburn had a slow start, had a great second quarter.
A lot of penalties.
They're sloppy penalties. I didn't watch so much of the Washington game.
Sloppy. I feel it, and it was a home game for Auburn, which usually obviously tends to favor the home team, but. I don't know. I feel like some of the pass interference calls were kind of so-so. I might have let them play.
I think there were 3 on third down, and there were 2 on third down in that last drive. One I agree with. He kind of had him by the arm, but that was a tough break for Auburn. That was tough to sit there. I mean, LSU and that rivalry is so funny. That is one of the most odd rivalries.
It's always like a weird fluky game.
It is.
That
It's
has
fluky.
like ends
it's
on
ugly,
the last play.
Ugly scores. I mean, you have It's just I felt bad for Auburn. I cannot get Auburn right this year. I picked Washington to beat Auburn. I said, okay, I learned my lesson. Won't do that again. You're playing at home. Joe Burrows has not impressed me. LSU's quarterback.
He did have a clutch 4th down throw for having a pretty lackluster game. He did completely a 4th and 9. That was.
I mean, he didn't look horrible.
Extended drive in the fourth quarter.
And it was 15 for 34. Again, not that efficient. I mean, the kid isn't, but 249 yards, mediocre, and a touchdown. So I mean, it's he's not lighting it up, but he did enough on the road versus a very good Auburn team, very good defensive front. It makes our season more exciting, seeing those two guys really
go toe to toe
and say, okay, these are actual.
I had said last week that I thought that Auburn was the real deal and LSU was a pretender, and I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to base any of my opinions on logic or statistics or facts. I still think that Auburn.
That would be crazy.
I still think that Auburn is a better team than LSU. I think it was just a weird fluky game, and I think LSU is going to lose 3 games, and Auburn is also probably going to lose 3 because they're going to lose to us and Bama. But
excuse me, Sawyer Page, if I get this wrong. Didn't LSU beat Auburn last year?
Mm-hmm. It's the first time the home team has won that game every year for the past 6 years. This is the first time an away team's won in a long time.
Okay, so wait, so you're saying?
I just think Auburn's a better team than LSU.
No, I know. I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to. Sorry, I'm drawing on something on the fly here. I'm doing it live.
Okay.
But anyways, I can revert back to 2013. Auburn lost to LSU and won out on their schedule because Auburn it benefits. They beat them in last year. Okay, but so I mean Auburn's schedule benefits them because they still play as it is right now. The new AP poll they play the number 1 and 2 teams still on their schedule, and in Alabama and Georgia, and they still play.
I don't know if I'd call that a benefit. I see what you mean by saying
they have a chance to get back in there.
Standpoint,
if they were to win out, which they won't because they play Georgia, but if they were to win out, they can still get back in. It's not done for them. They're still a really good team. It's just it's crazy to see how LSU seems to be that just aggravating. Trip them up. Again back to 2013, they lost to LSU and then ran the table, won out.
So I guess the thing we hope
it's never dead. But
the thing we hope to take away from that, or not take away, but maybe LSU kind of used their big game magic on Auburn a little early in the season. Won't have any left over for us.
I could see some false hope there because Auburn's offense isn't really impressing me right now. I mean, 21 points.
I don't think Jared Stidham is.
Didn't look that
he's
green.
been okay.
Yeah, and
but
then
I don't think he's this.
Versus Washington, I know some people have said Washington's defense is a little better than expected, or that maybe that we give them credit for. But I don't know. It's not impressing me so much. So I mean, I don't know. They're not scaring me.
I think Auburn's defense is going to keep them in pretty much any game, though.
Yeah.
They don't need their offense to be particular. They're almost like the mirror image of Georgia, to where like as our defense is trying to gel, we don't need our defense to be a bunch of world beaters because our offense is so good. Auburn's kind of the opposite of that. So for that, I'm excited to play Auburn.
Would you change who you think? Would you change who you think if you had to bet and you had to say we were going 11-1 and you had to pick the loss? Would you change that now? Because we still get Auburn at home. That doesn't change the fact.
Yeah,
but we're still going to LSU, and that game's looking more and more attractive.
That was who I picked, wasn't it?
You picked LSU.
Yeah, I would keep that then.
Okay,
I would keep LSU. I think Auburn's a better team, but we've got them at home, and because his teams don't play well in Athens for whatever reason.
I said South Carolina, and I said if we beat them, we're going undefeated. So,
all right, well,
here we come, Atlanta.
I like that.
Book your hotels
better. Yeah.
But yeah, so also Notre Dame Vanderbilt. I thought that was exciting. For my end, because that's, I mean, whenever, again, we talk about Notre Dame a good bit, I feel like, because it's the trip last year. But Vanderbilt got to go there. That's fun for their fans, a fun experience. We can all attest to that. And then they gave it to them, man. They took it down to the wire. So.
Yeah, it was a close game. And again, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of college football, this weekend on TV. But, I talked to my brother who actually hosts another podcast, and
don't give other podcast shout-outs on
I
this
didn't
podcast.
give his name.
Yeah, we need all the ears here.
Yeah.
But John, my brother John will probably be a caller in at some point. I'm sure we'd like to have his opinions, particularly when we talk about either Bears, NFL football, or
Smith.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. They're no longer the Chicago Bears. They're the Chicago Fighting Roquan Smith.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, I talked to him about it. He was, a little concerned about this past game. He's actually going to I think they're playing NC State at some point this season. So
they
I
have
think
a weird quasi.
he's going to that game. I think they got Wake Forest this weekend, but I think somehow he wrangled tickets to NC State if that's who they're playing. But
is he going to go up to South Bend or he's going to go to?
I think it's in
wherever NC State is. Where's
North
NC
Carolina?
State? I have no idea where it is. Somewhere in North Carolina.
Raleigh.
Is it?
Is that right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Durham,
Raleigh,
Duke.
Durham, Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill's. Yeah. I don't know. We're tapping into North Carolina market here. We also want to give a shout out to maybe some of the, what is it? Florence? Hurricane Florence?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Prayers for
That's unfortunate.
Members of the mostly North Carolina, right?
I think it is, yeah. I know Wilmington. We actually had a friend come in and stay here from Wilmington. He stayed here this weekend to escape the storm. And obviously that's, it's a serious issue, and we, our heart goes out to people that lost their house. But I think they canceled a lot of games, too. They canceled at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, I know they canceled South Carolina's. That was more because I guess Columbia is right on the evacuation route. Yeah. So it wasn't the weather. They were more worried about getting people off the roads.
That happened to our first year in 2016. I don't know if y'all recall. We had to play South Carolina on Sunday because of I don't know what storm it was.
That was a weird game. Terry Godwin returned that onside kick for a touchdown to close the game. Kirby got mad at him.
I remember that. Yeah, he said just get down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
correction. I think it was Wake Forest that he got the tickets to, so he's going to go up. I think it's this weekend for that game. And I was actually trying to go up to South Bend to see Notre Dame play Florida State prior to the season because I thought that might be one of the better
cheap
games.
Ticket.
Yeah. Turns out I'm really glad I didn't spend the $298 on a ticket to see that game.
Wow.
And that's not I'm talking about the actual game ticket cost, not the flight to get up there.
Sure.
So I'm pretty glad that I didn't spend the money.
What is that going for now, do you know?
God, I haven't even
Probably
checked.
Pretty cheap.
If it's not free, I'm not sure I'm going to spend the money.
They'll pay you to take them, probably.
Yeah, seriously.
Free Shoes University.
Yeah.
Willie Taggart, that experiment is not going.
That's a disaster.
That's not going too well.
I'm just shocked.
He's got like a crazy
buyout,
and I guess they paid a bunch of money to get rid of Jimbo or something. For whatever reason, their athletic department doesn't have a ton of money right now in terms of who they can afford to buy out and who they could afford to pay after.
Right.
So from what I've read, they're saying they're stuck with Taggart for at least a couple of years.
Probably all their legal fees are tied up in helping Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
and all that
they
stuff,
still have some people on retainer for Jameis Winston when he does dumb stuff in the NFL.
Yeah. All right, well, we want to take a look at the other games that are going on this week because there are a couple that would probably be the most exciting one. I would say just looking at ranked matchups, I think game day is at Oregon-Stanford this weekend. So, I mean, that's a ranked matchup right there. What else are you guys looking forward to watching this weekend?
Georgia, Missouri is a big one.
Outside of UGA.
You got Tennessee, Florida, right? That's always a fun
Yes,
matchup.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tennessee, Florida, and Knoxville. I know a lot of my friends are.
I'm going Tennessee. I
going to the game.
want Tennessee to win that game.
Really?
Just because it puts Florida.
Another
they're done.
nail in
If
the
they
coffin
lose,
for Florida.
they're done. That's 2 losses.
Yeah.
In the SEC, and if we get past this weekend, then we're marching on.
Yeah, I don't even know who to pick. Both of those teams have looked really not good. I would probably take Tennessee just because they kind of hung in there with West Virginia for a half. So
I guess that's what you can hang your hat on.
I know. I don't know. I'm looking for nice stuff to say. They beat UTEP like 24-0.
I haven't watched enough of both teams. I guess I would say. I would say that Dan Mullen is a better head coach, or is a better coach than Jeremy Pruitt, from the sake of he's just done it longer.
Yeah.
This is Jeremy Pruitt's first year doing it. Dan Mullen has done it, and he's had success, with lesser tools in his toolbox.
Yeah,
so.
I wonder the way that Florida's trending right now, though, is you're almost like losing Kentucky like that, and then having none of the fans there as you barely squeak out against Colorado State. I wonder if he's kind of losing the locker room a little bit. I don't know anything about the culture down there.
Yeah,
but I think Tennessee. I could see them being a little bit more dialed in and being like, okay, we knew we were probably going to lose to West Virginia, but we did our best. They were champions of life that day. So shout out UT. Now they're 2-0 against a couple cupcakes, but at least they're going out there and doing what they're supposed to do. They're not going to overtime against App State or somebody like Penn State did. It's a home game. It's probably going to be kind of their version of, like, from the realistic UT fans that I've talked to, they're like, there's no way we beat Georgia. There's no way we beat Auburn. There's no way we beat Alabama, because their schedule is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think South Carolina and Florida are kind of what they're considering their benchmark games.
Okay, that's fair.
I could see them being a little more dialed in going.
I don't believe you when you say you're realistic Tennessee fans, but I think that is a good. That's good.
I've just read the Tennessee boards online sometimes.
Okay.
So they're just random people behind computer screens. I've never met a realistic Tennessee fan.
Okay, there you go. That's I don't think I could. I don't know. I've never seen one either. I think I used to live near one. We have actually probably a listener, Mark Apple. Big UT fan.
Isn't he like a delusional Tennessee fan then?
I don't know. It depends.
And we just lost Mark Apple as a listener.
I guess it depends. Maybe I should be dropping last names too. But we have a friend, Mark. I don't know.
Mark
He's
Orange.
fine.
It depends.
He'd
It depends how
appreciate
much
the
you had to drink before the game kicked off to see how realistic he's being. But that's probably the only. That's what a realistic Tennessee fan looks like in my mind, I guess. That's the best image I got.
Speaking of Tennessee, I'm watching the Predators pregame season right now.
Is it preseason hockey already?
Producer Dave there behind the computer paying full attention to all of our important opinions.
We sound and look good. A game I am looking forward to, though, is Texas A&M, Alabama. Because Texas A&M looked real good versus Clemson. So let's see what that was the number 2 team in the country. Let's see and that game ended kind of fluky.
Is that game in Tuscaloosa or is it in College Station?
It's at Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
But, Jimbo's, I don't know.
And A&M is, they got ranked this week, right?
Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
ESPN
doing their best to create a narrative around that Alabama
probably. I can see that. But they've done enough to they've played the team. They've won how they've won it. They should have, and they played Clemson tough. So.
It is like we were talking about before the show. It's almost like the voters didn't. To me, the AP this week reflects what it should have been last week. Because I do agree that I think A&M deserved to rise even though they lost to Clemson. I think Clemson deserved to fall even though they beat A&M. And I think that Georgia deserved to jump Clemson, because of the way we beat South Carolina. And all of those things happened just a week late.
Yeah,
so I think all of the voters collectively listened to the podcast last week, and they heard me make my argument for Georgia at number 2. And we're up there now.
I have no doubt. We're winning the beauty contest. We got up there. They heard Jimmy's call.
I just think our statement win over South Carolina was more impressive than Clemson squeaking out.
I agree with that. I just think nothing this week really changed. I agree that they played, or who are we arguing against here? Clemson. They played a tough game versus A&M, an unranked A&M, and squeaked it out. And then we beat a ranked team.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that the voters that they have to vote, like on I guess Sunday, because the AP comes out on Monday or whatever.
It comes out Sunday at like 1.
Sunday, so they have to vote like Saturday night. So they're probably going down the box score, and they're like, all right, Bama 1, leave them at number 1. Clemson 1, leave them at number 2. Georgia 1, leave them at number 3. And then when they have a week to digest it, I think some people went back and said, oh, that Clemson win wasn't as impressive as we thought, and that Georgia win was pretty damn impressive. Yeah. So like maybe we should flip-flop those two.
I guess. I don't know.
None of this matters, which is what we keep coming back to.
It's a beauty contest at this point because it's not the playoff rankings, but I guess I don't know. I guess nothing. Again, back to my point. I guess nothing changed as far as playing. We played a lesser opponent. They played a lesser opponent. Maybe it gave them more time, but you only have to keep up with 25 teams, and maybe not even all 25 because some of them are already going to play. So you're keeping up with, let's say, I don't know, what's the math on that? 15 games.
Yeah,
Assuming some of them were matched up. So it's not like they have to really look, far deep to figure that out. So I don't understand.
Yeah, because to me, you think it's more realistic that we jumped Clemson from 3 to 2 because of how bad we beat Middle Tennessee State?
No, that's what I'm saying. That doesn't make sense. It makes more sense. I agree with
so
you
you
last
are
week.
agreeing with me.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
So I was right.
So I was right.
I just don't understand why now. It's like, why again?
Because that's what I was saying. I think the voters
that,
have to rush to vote. So sometimes that stuff can be a week delayed when
that's what I'm saying.
a team has a
there's
real big
maybe
state
15 games you keep up with, right? Let's say some of them are matched up. Some of the top 20 are matched up, and then some don't play. Some play, a cupcake. And it's just, you're only looking at a handful of games. It can't be that tough to say.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping to all be AP voters by next year, so then maybe we can get a little more insight into it.
We'll talk to
I don't think there's any
you guys aren't voters
requirements or anything.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Can anybody vote? Can we submit ourselves as AP
Can we do
voters?
that? We'll have Dave look into that for us, and we'll have our intern help you out. Our summer intern who's still working in the fall, but yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we want to wrap up this podcast with a Mount Rushmore discussion. And this one we talked about a little bit before the show, but I haven't heard anybody's opinions, so I'm actually really interested to have this discussion. We're going to keep it kind of quick, but I want to know who is on the Mount Rushmore for most bingeable television shows. Tyler, what is your pick?
I'm going to say mine is True Detective Season 1.
What's that, like 3 episodes?
It's 8 episodes, yeah.
It's 6.
It's 8.
It's 6.
He has a short
True
attention
Detective
span.
Season 1 is 8 episodes, an hour apiece, yeah.
I wonder if that counts
How
as
do you?
binging.
It's one season.
It's a very good season. I agree with
Thank
that.
you.
That's like watching 2 Harry
Well,
Potter movies.
I should have
Stupid.
prefaced it with binging was you like go and like rewatch. I think so. That was some of the best 8 hours on television. That show was
6 hours.
fun.
That's bold.
It's 8. I really number of episodes 8.
You can watch it on your lunch
So,
break.
okay.
Regardless of how
That's
many
fake news.
regardless of how many episodes it is, I don't think that that's a bingeable television show when you're talking about one season, 8
Okay.
episodes, and
We can
number
get into a
2,
debate with this. I'm curious to hear y'all's because I've heard some people or saw some notes that were written down that are definitely not bingeable episodes or seasons. So we can get
first
into
of all,
this.
the Mount Rushmore of bingeable shows should just be Michael Scott with 4 different impressions because The Office is the ultimate bingeable show.
Yeah, but
you don't even
see,
hardly have to binge it because you
anyone can say The Office. That's
That's
low
wrong.
hanging fruit.
That's wrong.
That's low hanging fruit. How about this?
Oh, well, I was
I'll
on the
change.
Office train. I like The Office way
it
before
doesn't
The Office
discredit
was
the opinion just because it's an obvious choice.
cool. I was watching The Office with commercial breaks live on Thursday nights in 2007 when it started.
As an avid Office fan, I'm going to tell you why I disagree with that. Because I think of a binge show as one that ends on a huge cliffhanger. You have to keep watching it. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
That was going to be the only
True
argument
Detective
that I made.
Season 1.
That,
Check it
that
out.
you don't have to watch them in order. You can kind of just pick up and watch wherever. It's not one that like you can't stop watching, like Ozark, the Netflix original series Ozark.
I
starring
like
Jason
Ozark,
Bateman.
but it doesn't keep me gripped like True Detective.
Oh, I
did.
could not stop watching Ozark. Fun fact for our listeners that watch Ozark, if you watch in season 1, when his daughter is interviewing for a job in the clothes shop and she sees the kid with the long hair that threw her off the boat and she runs across the parking lot and punches him. Yeah, spoiler alert. She punches him outside of the pharmacy that I work at. They filmed that whole series. Yeah, Lake of the Ozark is Lake Alatoona, and they filmed it in front of my pharmacy in Marietta.
There you go. Fake news TV show.
I have 3 that are
Oh, hello. Okay.
Well, there goes our Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously.
one.
Okay, go ahead, David.
One might get taken. I don't know. Top one, and this is one I know no one was going to pick because it predates.
I said before the show's like David's gonna have some obscure show that nobody's heard
It's
of.
not obscure. It's a huge classic, but it predates us
Is it
a
South
little
Park?
bit. No. 24.
Oh,
Ultimate.
my dad loves 24. You and my dad could get together and watch Jack Bauer together.
Oh my God! I've watched the entire series twice through,
Well,
which
there you
is
go.
an ungodly amount of hours.
Isn't every season totally standalone and he dies at the end of every season and then he just isn't dead the next season?
Oh, there you go. No need to watch the show.
No.
Don't you like think he's don't you think he's dead like 2 or 3 seasons at the end and then the next season he's just not? and they don't really address it. I've never watched
I don't
the show.
think you. Then why? Then you're just talking about.
Same
okay.
reason he tried to crap on my show for saying it had 6 episodes.
That was the thing.
Wrong.
I heard one time.
Yeah, wrong. Number 2 would be Lost. I've seen that
Ooh,
twice. all
Lost
the way
is a
through.
good one, yeah.
Because of the cliffhanger. Fact, you're still
Yeah.
every end of episode.
What's in the hatch?
Yeah, what's in the hatch? Exactly.
I used to watch Lost on Wednesday nights with my dad. Back when you had to watch it live with the commercials and everything.
Yeah.
Couldn't even DVR.
Ugh, peasants.
My third one, which probably might be on Will's list, would be Breaking Bad. I think that's.
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
I couldn't hang in there with
I know.
Breaking
Are you
Bad.
insane?
I watched
People
3
give me a hard
episodes.
time about that. I've never seen.
You
a
didn't
single
like it?
episode. Actually, I've seen random episodes because when Will and I lived together in college, and I was in pharmacy school studying and learning, and Will was doing whatever.
What?
Yeah, Will, your last semester you only took like 9 hours to graduate.
Shots
and
fired.
every time.
Show him that degree, Will. Hang him on the wall.
But
I wasn't apparently my schedule wasn't full enough with those 3 jobs I was working
Taking the gloves
simultaneously.
off,
My
right?
bad.
You were definitely binging Breaking Bad, and I would come home, and I saw like every 5th episode because I'd get home from class and stuff, and Will would be sitting there watching Breaking Bad and kind of catch me up, tell me what
Must have been in
happened.
between my first job and my second job that day that I was working.
You're watching
Well,
more
Will
Breaking
was
Bad, I don't
not
know.
doing anything.
It's not my
Yeah.
job to keep track of y'all.
Well, you can certainly assume what I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
But speaking of all the TV we binge watched that year, Walking Dead before it got terrible. Like
Yeah.
the first 4 seasons of
Agreed.
Walking Dead were good.
I agree with that.
What season are they on right now? Do you guys
Like
know?
11.
I think
don't
it's
know.
9 or
Doesn't
10.
Is
matter.
there
That
any end
show's
in
dead to
sight?
me.
I hung in there through 7.
I think there's only like 1 or 2 original cast members left. Spoiler alert going forward, but
Wow.
I think a
Well,
lot
yeah,
of
I'll agree with Jim. I think that was definitely one of the better shows to binge watch. However, it lost me like whenever they got to that one town.
Alexandria.
And no, it
There's
was the
been a
one. It was
bunch
like
of
a
different
neighborhood.
towns.
It was
they
like
show up to a
yeah,
town and they're
Alexandria.
like, we're going to be safe here.
the
And
really
then a bad
nice
guy
neighborhood
comes in.
with
Yeah.
the like older lady.
yeah.
Okay, so they lost me there. That's when I completely fell off the map. I was really hoping they were going to kind of start to wrap things up because it seemed to get a little bit repetitive, and I just
Yeah.
never picked up the show again.
Still doing it.
Tyler used to make me watch it all the time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it again.
I did jump really bad during that one scene.
Yeah,
though.
David was talking shit. Pardon my French. He was giving me crap for like, this show sucks. This isn't scary. David sits down with his drink in his hand, and the zombie jumps out, and he's
Really?
all over him, all
just
over him,
tossed it in
just
my
eating
face.
his words. Yeah.
Like, well, there we
But
go.
yeah, that one lost favor with me too. I hung in there as long as I could.
Yeah,
Can't do it.
one
What's your-
show that I would say. Did you say The Office?
I said the
Okay,
Office.
so
Low
that,
hanging fruit.
but that's right because you guys push
But
back
I've
on
always
that.
been the Office guy of our
I
friend
think
group.
everyone would agree.
That's
yes,
always
that
been
belongs
like
up
my
there.
thing.
But Jimmy
is
had
The
a
Office.
Jimmy's. I think it was Jimmy that said this. He said, "If there's one show that I could forget all of and then go back and rewatch it from
Oh
scratch,
yeah, I would do the Office.
that would definitely be The Office for me."
But
because,
Lost would be close second. To
See, I've
David's
never
point.
seen Lost and I've never seen 24.
Same.
It just didn't. I didn't really get into it. One show that I say that I could binge watch. It's kind of tough because the episodes are so long. But
True
it would,
Detective.
no.
True Detective
That
season,
doesn't even-
season 2.
that
Season
doesn't
2.
even
Nobody
make
likes season
Season
top
2 was not
50
good.
for me.
Okay.
It was good. It was good. But it would be Game of Thrones.
Dun, dun,
See,
dun, dun.
I have a problem with that pick. I love Game of Thrones. Your opinion, that's fine, but
but it's wrong.
I know
Here's
it's
why.
but it's wrong.
It's my opinion.
oh, I'm not saying it's wrong.
We
I guess I
talk
have
so
a
civilly about sports.
I
and then
have a
TV
problem with it.
Gloves are coming off.
What is your problem, Tyler?
I don't think it's bingeable, and I think.
And why is that?
Here's my point: is anyone here in front of or behind camera finished? We're all caught up, right? We're caught up on the show. Have you gone back and just
David's
watched the
not.
season?
So
Okay, well, no spoilers. Has anyone just gone back and just watched a season on a weekend or a week or anything after being caught up?
No, but what I will say.
Okay,
in
that's what I'm saying.
I will say.
You
in
watched it
defense of
all-
that-
you watched it all
I
once
will say in
through,
defense of
and we're
that
done.
that the plan is to rewatch the series all the way through again because the girlfriend has not watched it, but I want her
Ooh, fun.
Well,
to
that's
start
fun.
with this final season. So I will rewatch it with her, which
you should always watch it the first time with somebody that's read the books because they can answer all the questions.
Shut up, Jimmy.
That's how you fake a good relationship right there. It's a good season to watch together.
Well, we have a good relationship, so but the only other
I
one
didn't
that
understand that.
I
reference.
have not seen, but I want to maybe start is either Sons of Anarchy. I've heard that's like
Ooh,
a
my
bingeable
dad is
show.
really into that show. He said
Or-
that's an awesome show.
And this is kind of older, but I've never seen it. Is The
Seinfeld.
Sopranos?
Oh,
I've
Sopranos.
never watched The Sopranos either. Man in the High
Sopranos.
Castle is one that people
Great
say is
show.
really good.
I
On
The,
Amazon
ending,
Prime.
the ending was weird.
when the
Well,
last
spoilers.
the last
I'm starting it
episode,
tonight.
The last episode of season 1
No.
turned
I'm
me
watching
off.
the
The last episode of
fighting
season
Roquan
one.
Of season
tonight.
1 of Man in the High Castle. I love the context. I like the story. But I just didn't.
I had to look it up. I couldn't
yeah, I did
figure out
too.
what
I did too. I had to explain season or episode 10 of season 1. But if you haven't watched that show, that's where America has lost World War II, and it has been split between the two, I guess, the strongest Axis powers: the West, Japan, and Nazi Germany
And
has the
Germany.
majority
And there's
majority
like a
of it, and they're
stronghold
trying.
in the
Yeah,
Rocky Mountains
well, they're
or
trying.
something?
Yeah, there's like a no man's land.
Your
in
mom
the
is going to be
Rockies.
so proud.
She's
You
gonna be
got
so proud of me.
You struggled
Axis
over
powers.
the top two.
Yeah, but
They were the
it's
bad
a cool
guys.
theme though. But I guess
Yeah.
and then they have to manage the relationship there and stuff. But I guess I don't know. It
See,
didn't-
that's a really good pick, and I was struggling to get into that show to begin with because I was like, "This is so ridiculous." I remember watching it and
cool.
just being like, "This is too weird." And then after an episode or two, if you kind of accept like this alternative reality, like a what if type scenario, it's definitely entertaining. I will say you need to push yourself to try season 2 and at least start it because I felt the same way about the final episode. Season 2 is a really interesting turn. But that's a really good one. That's a really good pick. I like that show
Well,
a lot.
if we're also talking about miniseries like True Detective, season 1, I'm going to go Band of Brothers. That's a
Oh,
cool-
that's
Actually,
great.
dang, I wish I would have thought of that.
Damn, that's a good one.
That might be my
Or
favorite.
Pacific. Have you guys seen that one?
I didn't. I watched like the first 2. It didn't. I probably should have hung in there longer. Maybe I'm a quitter. I don't know when it comes to TV shows. But like, I guess the original with Band
Yeah.
of Brothers with the European theater, that was so good. I guess
It's-
that's my. I put that on a pedestal, and then when the Pacific doesn't match, maybe the
Right.
same outline. I guess.
Well, it's easier to I think get into because of the European theater for sure. I mean, the Pacific is such a different setting, obviously, but I think it was really cool to kind of have another extension or outlet to like. This is such a great World War II show. I loved both of those shows. So that's another great one to binge. Good,
So,
good
what would
point.
y'all say? Because you guys shot down my Office by saying it's not bingeable because you don't.
I
have
think
to watch
I think
Office.
it- I think it
Ultimate-
is.
So,
it's
what,
like the
what would,
ultimate.
what's y'all's like sitcom then? If you were gonna,
Seinfeld.
since you guys picked like a,
I think
more
Seinfeld's
serious-
hilarious.
I said Frasier.
Tyler picked something that's not even bingeable, but
Frasier.
Seinfeld. It's the same.
Frasier.
I like Frasier a lot.
Who watches Frasier?
I love Frasier. I think it's a great show.
Growing up, my
I've
dad
never
watched
seen
Seinfeld
Frasier.
My
and
dad
Frasier.
and
Never got into Frasier, but I never could get into Seinfeld until I got older, and I think it's hilarious.
See,
I love that show.
both my parents watched both those shows, and I think they also watched Cheers. But
Okay.
Frasier was, I think.
Do you
the
guys ever
best of
watch
those.
ER? I never did either, but that was my mom's show growing up.
Good story.
We're
Grey's
losing
Anatomy.
Did you guys watch that show? Yeah, me neither.
I've never seen ER, but whatever night it was on, like Tuesday nights or whatever, growing up, I was like, my
used to-
mom had. Remember the story about Ed's parents in the '95
Yes,
World Series?
that
So
is-
Ed Freeman State Farm said that the one time in his life he's ever seen his parents get in a fight was Game 6 of the '95 World Series. The Braves game.
Yeah, we're out.
Fading in and out. Hello? All right, we're back. All right. Miller unplugged our audio. Shout out to Miller Pound, our official
Our,
official
podcast
mascot
mascot.
of the podcast. But anyways, starting over, Ed Freeman, State Farm.
No.
It's a short story.
It's already been recorded. We just lost audio.
It wasn't recorded.
It wasn't
God.
recorded.
All right.
David's going to
David's
splice all
gonna
this.
cut this
David's
in.
going to splice all this
The
together.
story wasn't good enough to repeat the second time just for me to
everybody
hear.
pause, and David can splice it.
That's
So
not how that
Ed,
works.
in 1995, it was Game 6 of the World Series. The Braves were about to win the World Series, and that game was on the same time as the Touched by an Angel season finale, which Ed's mom wanted to watch. And he said his parents got in a huge fight about which
Who
one they were
won?
gonna watch. I think they watched the Braves.
No, they lost. Ed and his dad had to watch the Braves game on a TV, a black and white TV, I think, in the bathroom.
Are you
Kid
kidding
you not?
me?
Yep.
Oh my
Miss
God.
Freeman.
All right,
Miss
that's a
Freeman
power
won that.
move by
Yeah.
Mom.
Oh, she knew what
All
she was
right,
doing.
I see you, Miss Freeman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they lost. I don't know if it was color or black and white, but to make the story a little better.
It was 1995, so it's definitely
he
black
had
and white.
7 brothers and
I
sisters.
think everything was black and
They
white
were-
before 2010.
Yeah, I think so.
The last show I will say on my binge series is Top Gear. I don't know that anybody out there.
You and Ryan Battalion.
Me-
He did our logo.
shout out
Shout
to-
out Ryan in
shout out
Austin,
to
Texas.
Ryan Battalion.
You guys watch us on YouTube. Ryan designed our logo. He does freelance graphic design.
Yeah,
Give him a shout.
be sure to look him out.
RyanBattalion.com.
Ryan Battalion.
I'm pretty
But
sure.
Ryan and I in college would binge watch Top Gear, which for those of you that are not familiar, it's actually been canceled since and has moved over to Amazon Prime under another name, Grand Tour. But
Bottom Gear.
Yeah, but back in the day, it was on BBC and they had it on Netflix. There was like 15 seasons, and it was like 45 minutes to an hour each. And it was all about like cars and the challenges they would do, and they'd go to all these exotic locations and stuff. It was really cool. That is one that I definitely continue to binge watch.
Oh, also shout out Westworld.
Oh,
We totally forgot about Westworld.
Tyler's
Season
an
1.
idiot,
Season 1 was
and
strong.
Loved season 1.
I didn't watch season 2.
I watched the
Are
first
you
episode
kidding
of
me?
season 2 and quit.
I didn't
You're
like season 2. I couldn't get into it.
Me
But
same.
season 1 was
how far
magical.
into season 2 did you make it?
Like
One
40
episode.
minutes.
Okay, well, you guys have no room to comment.
Busy.
on
I got
season
stuff going on Sundays.
2. Okay,
True.
you have well, whatever. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. I don't want to get into a confrontation.
If you're still with us.
Yeah, if you're still with us and you didn't leave after the dog
Yeah.
unplugged the audio from our broadcast, we're glad to have you.
That's again, if you're still
was done
listening
with it.
at this point in the podcast, text me and I'll buy you a beer.
Don't
Hi,
text
family.
us, comment.
Comment on.
But from all of us here at American Pylon, we want to say thank you for joining us for another exciting episode. Will, Jimmy, or James Thomas Manning IV, Tyler, David here behind the computer, and the producers, once again, thank you. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe.
Actually, more locations. Google Podcasts. There's a ton of
Yeah,
pretty
we're on
much
SoundCloud,
where any
I think.
any podcasts are found.
Stitcher and TuneIn.
Well, there's only
app.
3 that I know of.
VO
so.
Sports Radio.
Whoa, easy.
Okay.
24/7
Stepping on some
sports.
toes there. Yeah.
It's on Reddit, so be sure to like, subscribe, and share. But from all of us here, we want to say thank you again for joining us. We look forward to connecting again next week. So thank you again, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.